Okay, and I'm going to show how to set up the articulator to get ready to mount the maxillary cast. Here's our articulator. There's several different pieces we need to use. This is the mounting bracket from our face bow. This is our posterior bite fork support. Here's our face bow transfer that we got from the patient and from the face bow. A couple things about our articulator. We have our adjustments here where we can make adjustments to the eminence angle. We can loosen these screws and adjust this angle. Right now it's set at 30 degrees, which is the average, and I think we'll just leave it at 30. Most of the time it'll be around 30, but we have a way to measure this on a patient as well. This is the Bennett angle. This one's set at 0. This other one's set at 40. So you need to look at those and get those set where you'd like. The average on those is about 15, but there's an equation we can use to determine what that angle is as well. First thing we need to do is remove the magnetic mounting plate on the mandibular aspect of the articulator. That just comes off with a screw. And we place our mounting bracket onto our articulator. That goes in the same position and screws in place. Now in placing this mounting bracket, you need to make sure the anterior guide plate, which is that little device in the front, is out of the way, as the bracket will kind of go around that anterior guide, or that anterior guide plate. And so if we need to move that, we can loosen these screws. There's two separate screws. I think the top one allows that anterior guide plate to move forward and back. You can see it can move and be adjusted. It should be level and flat, and our pin should line up with the line, be right in the middle of the line on our anterior guide plate. We're going to mount the posterior bite fork support, which there's a screw on our mounting bracket that'll go on. What this does is it allows support for the bite fork. The bite fork is on a cantilever, and there's a little bit of flexing that will happen to it when weight is placed on it. So with this support, it holds up the back of the bite fork, not allowing it to flex, so that we can get the most accurate mounting possible. A little piston that moves up and down can be adjusted, and I'll show you how to adjust that. So here's our face bow transfer assembly. We're going to put this into the mounting bracket. There's a little position for it to go in. It can only go in one way. Make sure you loosen the fastener screw in the front, and it should snap in. Make sure it falls all the way down and is positioned all the way to the bottom. And then tighten the fastening screw, so it's held in there securely. You can see the posterior support can now be moved up so that it barely touches, not displacing, but just touching the bite fork, and then tighten the fastening screw on the back of that. I don't want to move the bite fork in doing this, but I want to support it in its position. Now you can see I can put some weight on it and it's not going to move. We have our mounting plate. This has a piece of metal that will be connected to our magnetic plate. You can see these indexing notches on the mounting plate, which is essentially what we put on our cast. That serve the same purpose. It makes it so that the mounting plate can only attach to the magnetic plate in one position. So it holds on by magnet, and watch as I turn it, it'll snap in place. So you know that it's held in the secure. And that's essentially what our indexing notches are going to do for us against the mounting stone. So the bite fork is used to mount the maxillary cast. The facebow transfer assembly is taken so that we can mount the maxillary cast. I'm going to try it in here. Make sure it sits all the way down into the bite fork. This one rocks a little bit, so I need to make sure that I've positioned in the right position. As I close the articulator down with the mounting plate in place. Well, before I do that, let me show you the anterior guide pin here. This needs to be set at 0. See, if you loosen this fastener screw, you can move that anterior guide pin up and down. So we need to position it at 0 before we mount. There's a thick black line that is the 0 point. So we're going to adjust the articulator until it is right at that thick black line, and I have the anterior guide pin set at 0. Now as I place my cast into the bite fork, again I need to have the mounting plate in position. I want to make sure it's set all the way down into the bite registration or the wax or whatever we've used on the bite fork. As I close the articulator, now I want to analyze it to make sure I have enough space above the cast for mounting stone. As you can see here, it looks like I've got enough space there, about at the smallest about 5 or 6 millimeters of stone, and my cast does not interfere with closing. There's enough space that the stone can set in there, and I should be able to get a good mount with this. If you find the cast is interfering, you may have to go trim your cast a little more. If you can't get your articulator closed, you may have to adjust your cast. It could be your facebow transfer is not done correctly, but now this is ready to go and to mount.